It's a true pleasure to once again welcome you to these candlelit hallways and torchlit caverns. Our story on this occasion deals with the gods, protector spirits, and magic of the old world. And by old world, I mean Africa, the literal womb of civilization, and in particular, how these powers can be brought to bear in the new world. I therefore offer you up a tale called Permanent Residence. Appropriately titled, I might add, since it's stored here for all eternity on the Nightfall radio show. There's an old slave shack out in the backside of Hollis Field. Before the Civil War, that whole area was Hollis Plantation. Hundreds of acres, mostly cotton, tobacco, and rice. By 1860, Winston Hollis owned a plantation with more than 100 slaves. It's all gone now, of course. The big house, the stables, the outbuildings. Everything except that lone shack, the single remnant of a failed cause and a bygone era. Now, for years and years, the old folks out that way told stories about Mama Sarah. They say that she was a slave on the Hollis plantation, but more than that she was a witch. Now, by witch, I don't mean like what you might see in some movie, or the common image that you're familiar with at Halloween. No, by no means. I mean that Mama Sarah was a seer, a practitioner, and she observed the traditions and beliefs and all of the old ways that her grandmother had brought with her from West Africa. Almost everybody knew it at the time. There were even white people who were a little bit afraid of her. They would never admit it publicly, of course, but the nods and whispers, as they always do, reveal the truth without a single word being spoken. Now, Mama Sarah was always good for cures and potions. She had knowledge of everything growing in the woods: roots, berries, mushrooms, leaves, and things she would not speak of, and could offer remedies for everything from terrible nightmares to a feverish case of swamp fever. But Mama Sarah knew other things too, way beyond the reach of an acidity bag. Like I said, she had the wisdom of things long forgotten by a people who were stripped of their native languages, beliefs, customs, traditions, and history. And she understood and respected the reality and the power of her ancestors, their gods, and the nature of other spirits, both good and evil. Now, Mama Sarah had a daughter named Anna. One night, one of the Hollis sons, a reprobate and well-known good-for-nothing named Charles, cornered her as she attempted to fill a well bucket, pulled her into a nearby outbuilding, and raped her. Upon his departure, he issued the following warning to Anna: "One word about this, and your pretty brown skin's going to be food for the alligators and snapping turtles." By the next full moon, Charles Hollis was dead. He had taken on a raging fever, and his body convulsed violently from severe muscle spasms from head to toe. And his back was profusely marked with pinkish red pustules, all from which eventually oozed a foul-smelling dark fluid. Officially, publicly, the doctors concluded that the cause of death was an extremely virulent strain of swamp fever. Privately, however, The suspicion was that Mama Sarah had placed some kind of death hex on Charles Hollis. On the second night following Charles Hollis's burial, 2 men, James Torn and Eli Sorensen, kicked in the door of Mama Sarah's shack and dragged both her and Anna outside. The men dragged the 2 women across a field in the direction of the swamp. None of them were ever seen again. Not Mama Sarah, not Anna, nor their assailants. Some people said that the 4 of them must have accidentally wandered into a bog and drowned in quicksand. Still others imagined that they must have fallen victim to that big, hairy, man-like creature in the swamp that left huge footprints and people were just starting to refer to as the skunk ape. Fanciful tales of adventure, mystery, and intrigue, to be sure. But I can do you one better. The men killed the 2 women, after, of course, violating them in unspeakable ways, and then sank their bodies into the endless black waters. At the moment of their deaths, Mama Sarah and Anna became one, a powerful guardian spirit, a gigantic magical being that existed to protect and defend the honor and virtue of the ancestral bloodline. And the old gods had imbued this being with all elemental magical strength. Now, like I mentioned at the start of our story, Mama Sarah's shack is the only remaining structure out there. And if you stand close enough to the old barbed wire fence, you can hear the wind whistling through the warped boards and half-rotted roof beams. But if I were you, I'd do it in the daytime. Because if you go out there at night, especially in the deep part of summer, I can just about tell you what to expect. Inside the blackness of the shack, you'll see 3 sets of pale yellow eyes, and they'll most likely be darting all around in a futile attempt at escaping their rickety prison. And then you'll see a towering figure emerge from the thick night air, a 20-foot specter with long midnight black hair, fiery eyes, and the gnashing teeth of a raging lion. It emerges with each rising moon to ensure eternal captivity and torment of 3 souls: Charles Hollis, James Torrand, and Eli Sorensen, permanent residents of Mama Sarah's old shack. And I can assure you that, unlike the slave, their suffering will never end.